Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the hearing that you're holding. Thanks to the witnesses. One of the reasons I wanted to serve on the Agriculture Committee was twofold, to make sure that we can sustain our incredible system of agriculture that produces the finest quality, affordable products in all the world for the American people and for a lot of people around the world, and that the food supply is abundantly important. People go into the grocery store, they have an opportunity to select from this array of choices. It's an incredible thing, and I like to talk about and champion that every chance we get. It doesn't happen in every country around the world. But then there's the second part of the Ag Bill that's important, why I wanted to serve, the nutrition programs. The United States of America and our taxpayers are citizens and most generous people in all the world. We provide a safety net for folks to make sure that people, when they're down on their luck or for whatever reason, they need help, and we get them that help. But what we need to do is make sure we're good stewards of that money and that those resources are directed to the people that actually need the help. And if there are folks out there receiving benefits that shouldn't, those resources should be directed either back to the general fund of the Treasury or to the people that need it even more. And so I think that's what this hearing's about. We're talking about these issues. And we even had the chairman of the committee, Mr. Peterson, I guess in the previous Congress, and he brought that up. He's from my home state. I believe the gentleman that's here who kind of showed that there's maybe a problem with the system here and there, Mr. Undersander, he's from the state of Minnesota. And Mr. Peterson said at one point, he said, we in Congress have created a system where states set the rules in some cases and then we are left paying the bills. And he's right, because the government, even though the federal government provides monies to the states get to administer the programs. And what's happened over the years, I think, is the programs have gotten a little bit out of whack. I think they're a little bit been liberalized in some areas that maybe is not helping everybody. But are there areas where we should tighten it up? Of course. Should we have a biometric E-Verify to make sure that illegal aliens are not collecting federal welfare dollars, which is against the law? Absolutely. Why do we want to send our taxpayer dollars there? Should we be doing everything we can to make sure people are not collecting in multiple states, which happens from time to time? There are people out there that try to exploit our systems. We want these resources to be directed to the people that need it. And then we have the case where this asset test, I guess, technically you can walk through, and Mr. Undersander said, hey, I can collect. I don't think I should, but do something about it. All right, we should do something about it. And maybe as Mr. Barnes and others said, it doesn't affect every case, doesn't affect that many, but it shouldn't happen. I think we should all agree it shouldn't happen. But when you look at what's going on, and I used to work for a congressman that served on this committee in the 80s, Arlen Stanglin. He led the Republican Work for Welfare bill and Work Requirement bill back then. And that bill was fundamentally passed by President Clinton, who signed it, Newt Gingrich and the Republicans in Congress, some fair-minded Democrats who joined us on that, to increase the work standards and technical training and other requirements for people that collect welfare, including food stamps. That bill was very successful. Drove down the rates, saved costs. People got back into private sector and other work, and I think it was a good thing. But for many purposes, that legislation was undermined by the 2009 Stimulus Act and many of the Obama administration rules that allow waivers for states to basically ignore the work requirements. And so the USDA is working on that to try to tighten it up. I support them on that fundamentally and wholeheartedly, because in many instances, a lot of these asset tests and others maybe go out the wayside when you say to people, if you're collecting benefits, you're able-bodied, we need to either get in there and get some technical training so you can get into the workforce, have an upwardly mobile job, or work for your welfare the same way the taxpayers do and give incentive to try to get off the programs. But I'll tell you this, I think that the most compassionate thing that members of Congress can do is to say we need to take people from government dependence, welfare, and move them to technical training, move them to work, move them to self-sufficiency. That is the most compassionate thing we can ever do. And the mandates for able-bodied citizens, it's common sense, I think. And every person in our society, every potential worker has worth and value, and we should never stymie their success and their upward mobility because of government programs, bad government, even in the name of compassion. With that, I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you very much.